Salamat everyone. I am Emmanuel Chua of BSC 25 and I would like to discuss to you the Indonesian Police, which is a neighboring country of the Philippines and part of the ASEAN Police Organization. And let's proceed. So for today, we will be discussing different agendas about the Indonesian police force. First, we'll discuss the Indonesia, their legal system and religion, and as well as some facts, trivias I would like to share to you to further understand the discussion. And second is the history of the Indonesian police. And third, the mission, vision, and motto and core values of the Indonesian police. And lastly, we'll be discussing the organization of the Indonesian police as well as their ranking system for each officers. So let's begin with the Indonesia and we'll discuss about some facts and trivias of this country. First is they have applied mixed legal system with civil law as they adapted those laws to the Dutch colonial law. Civil law means it is inquisitorial in nature. The burden of innocence must be proved by the accused. And next, application of customary law, or the locals say, sistem hukum adat, or the justice system. And they have also applied some religious legal system, which is Islamic Sharia law, which is also applicable in other Muslim countries and some part of the Philippines. And did you know that Indonesia has 86.7% of Muslim people living in their territory? Trivia time. Did you know that Indonesia is the third largest democracy country in the world? Even though they have the Islamic system, they still manage to be a democracy country. And for over 350 years, Indonesia was colonized by the Dutch, and similar to the Philippines that was colonized by the Spanish colonial imperial for over 333 years. So let's proceed to the Indonesian police system. The Indonesian police system is called in the local term Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia, or meaning the state police of the Republic of the Indonesia, or in Tagalog we can call it Kapulisang Pambansa ng Republika ng Indonesia. Okay. It is formerly part of the Tentara Nasional Indonesia, which is the armed forces of Indonesia. And it was only separated in 1999, which was a bit recent, but it was formally completed in July 2000. And the police force, or the Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia, has been placed under the office of the president in 1999. It is also similar to the Philippines, but in the Philippines, the police force are placed under the Department of the Interior and Local Government, which is still under the control of the president. And they had started with 150 personnel, which is a bit little to the portion compared to the portion of the population of the Indonesian people. But in year 2006, there are approximately 470,000 national and local police recorded according to their data. So let's proceed to the mission, vision, motto, and core values of the Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia. Starting with the mission. Their mission is to provide professional and people-centered police service through the community partnership and upholding the rule of law for a safe, secure society. It's similar to all police force. That's why all countries have police force, to have a safe, secure society. Vision, a dignified world-class police service. And motto is to have service with dignity. And lastly, the core values, which are the justice, integrity, equity, participation, accountability, openness, and civility, or being civilian in nature. So let's proceed to the organization of Indonesian Police, or the Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia. Just a heads up, this organization is not too complicated, unlike in the Philippine National Police. First, we have the POLRI, or the Centralized National Bureaucracy, meaning the Indonesia applies only one police force patrolling all over the country. Its central headquarters is located in Jakarta, Indonesia, which is the capital city of Indonesia. Next is the Polisai Daerah, or in short, POLDA. It patrols from provinces down to district commands. Next is the Polisai Resort, or in short, POLRES. It patrols from district to sub-district commands. And lastly, we have the Polsec and Community Police Officers, or we can call them Polmas. It serves from individual villages. It is similar to the barangay tanods in the Philippines, but the only differences are that tanods are not part of the Philippine National Police. Meanwhile, the Polmas, or the community police officers, are part of the Indonesian Police Force. But the scope of their patrol are only similar because they have tiny space or scope to patrol, which is villages, or in the Philippines, the barangay. So let us proceed to the last part of the discussion, which is the Indonesian Police ranking system. During the early years, Indonesian police are utilizing the European style of ranking, which is the likes of inspector and commissioner. But in 1960, they fused or combined the Indonesian police to the military. So the police force are shifted to the military ranks, such as the captain, major, colonel, and the higher ups, etc. But in year 2000, remember that the Indonesian police are separated from the Tentara Nasional Indonesia, or the armed forces of the Indonesia. They were separated, and after the separation of the police force, they used the British style of ranking, which are the likes of inspector and superintendent. In the Philippines, we used also that in the old ranking system. But currently, they shifted to the Dutch style, or the old European style of ranking system, which is applicable nowadays. So now we are in the high ranking officers. We have 4 only. And first off is the Police General, or the General Police, Polisai in local term. And it is equivalent in general in army, or the highest position we can ever achieve in the military. Second is the Police Commissioner General, or the in local term Commissaries General Police, ComGen in short, and it is equivalent to Lieutenant General. The second highest position you can ever achieve in the organization. Next is the Police Inspector General, or the Inspector General Police in the local term. It is equivalent to Major General. It is the third highest. And lastly, we have the Police Brigadier General, or in local term, Brigadier General Police, or it is equivalent to Brigadier General in the military. So let's proceed to the mid-ranking officers. First is we have the Police Grand Commissioner, or in local term, Commissaris Besar Police, or Commissaris means commissioner, Besar means grand, Police means police, and it is equivalent to colonel. And next is the Police Grand Commissioner Adjutant. Adjutant means assisting officer to the senior officers. It is in local term Adjun Commissaris Besar Police. Adjun means adjutant, Commissaris means commissioner, Besar means grand, Police means police. It is equivalent to lieutenant colonel. You see the pattern. And third and last, we have the Police Commissioner, or the Commissaris Police, which is equivalent to major. So now let's proceed to the low-ranking officers, which is still part of the commissioned officers in our police system. First is we have the Police Commissioner Adjutant. In local term, Adjun Commissaris Police, which is equivalent to captain in the military ranking system. And next we have the First Police Inspector, or in local term, Inspector Police Satu. Satu means first, and it is equivalent to first lieutenant in the military rank. And lastly, we have the second police inspector. Take note, we have the second police inspector, and we are using the Dutch ranking system to this police force. Or in local term, we can call it Inspector Polisai Dua. Dua means two. And in military, it is equivalent to second lieutenant. This is new to our ranking system because in Indonesia, we have warrant officers. Warrant officers are technical experts in the military. They are the leaders in combat and provide guidance and instructions in technical field. That is the definition of warrant officers in the military. But we have warrant officers in the police force in Indonesia, and we only have two. The first police inspector adjutant, or we can call it in the local term Adjun Inspector Polisai Satu. Satu means one. It is equivalent to Chief Warrant Officer, the highest warrant officer in this organization. And second, we have the second police adjutant. Second police inspector adjutant, or we call it in the local term Adjun Inspector Polisai Dua. Dua means two. And it is equivalent to warrant officer, which is the subordinate of the chief warrant officer. Now let's proceed to the non-commissioned officers. We will start from the Chief Police Brigadier, or in local term, Brigadier Polisai Kepala, or we can call it Bripka. Or Kepala means chief, Kepala, or it is equivalent to Sergeant Major. Next is the Police Brigadier Adjutant, or we can call it Brigadier Polisai. which is equivalent to chief sergeant. And next is we have the first police brigadier, or we can call it the local term Brigadier Polisay sa 2, or it's equivalent to first sergeant. And we have, if we have first sergeant, we have the second police brigadier, or the Brigadier Polisay 2, or equivalent to second sergeant. We are not yet finished to the non-commissioned officers because we have enlisted officers, which are military officers appointed from enlisted personnel. They are yet to be placed on the non-commissioned officers, and yet they are still enlisted. First, the highest enlisted officer, we have the Police Brigadier Adjutant, or we can call it Adjun Brigadier Polisay, which is equivalent to Chief Corporal. They are the head of the enlisted ranks. And next, we have the first Police Brigadier Adjutant, or we can call it Adjun Brigadier Polisay sa 2, which is equivalent to first corporal. Next, we have the second Police Brigadier Adjutant, or the Adjun Brigadier Polisay 2, which is equivalent to second corporal. And we have these last three ranks in the enlisted officers, which is new to the ICE, or new to the ranking system, which is the Chief Biangkara, or Biangkara means guard, or we can call it in the local term Biangkara Kepala, which is Kepala means chief. It is equivalent to chief private. Next, we have the first Biangkara, or the first guard, which is equivalent to local term Biangkara sa 2, which is equivalent to private first class, the second step of being a private in the military rank. And lastly, we have the second Biangkara. Take note, this is the first rank you will ever achieve in joining the Kepolisian Negara Republic Indonesia, or we can call it Polri, or the police. And it is second Biangkara is equivalent to Biangkara 2 in the local term, and in the military it is called private. So let us have a quick recap of what we have discussed for today, starting with the Indonesia, which is the legal system which applies customary law, or the justice system, and the Islamic law, or the Sharia law system. It also applies civil law, which makes the nature of the prosecution as inquisitorial in nature. And next, we have the Indonesian Police history, which the Kepolisian Negara Republik Indonesia is formerly part of the Tentara Nasional Indonesia, or the Armed Forces of the Indonesia. They were only separated in 1999, but it was completely separated in July 2000, and it was ordered that the police force must be under to the directly to the office of the president. And yeah, we have the mission, vision, motto, and core values of the Indonesian police. And we have the organization proper, which is not complicated. We only have 4, which is the Polri, the national bureaucracy, which patrols all over the police force in the country, which is operated by only one police force. And next, we have the Polisay Daerah, or the POLDA in short, Polisay Resor, Polres, and we have the Polsec and Communities Police Officers, or we could call it Polmas. And the ranking system are divided in the high-ranking officers, mid-ranking officers, low-ranking officers. We have warrant officers and non-commissioned officers, and lastly we have enlisted officers. And I hope you have learned something or everything in this lesson, and I would like to thank you all for listening to this video.